Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast, the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions, the worlds of TV, film, news, music, pop culture, sports, everything really, depending on the guest, we talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. We are speaking about Into the Dark, which is on Hulu, a Blumhouse TV original. Valentine's Day special episode was Tentacles, and we were speaking to Dana Drori and Casey Deidrick about this. Dana, Casey, welcome to Popternative.
Hi,
Woo!
thanks for having us.
Wow, that was quite the intro. Thank you so much for having us. Appreciate it.
No, I'm really excited to do this. I mean, right off the bat, Dana, I mean, you're no stranger to horror. I mean, you're fresh off, Freaky from Blumhouse as well. I mean, there's a lot going on in this genre right now. How excited were you to kind of keep the momentum going and do Tentacles, Dana?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it was such a dream to book this job and to have a meteor role and to be a real freak. Not as so yeah, it was great. I was super stoked. Plus I love the Blumhouse fam, and it was really nice and really honored to work with them again.
And Casey, you've acted in a lot of things. There's been a lot of movies and TV shows. I mean, what did you know about the horror genre in terms of the boom it's had in the last 5 years?
Well, to be honest, this is actually my second Blumhouse project that I worked on. I did Eye Candy like probably 5-6 years ago with Victoria Justice. So this is not my first Blumhouse, but I would say my entire life has kind of prepped me for this moment, because I've been watching horror films since I was a little kid. I mean, I had my parents would let me watch any genre I wanted, Halloween, Child's Play, Friday the 13th. Like, I grew up watching horror films, and one of my favorite pastimes growing up as a kid was playing Resident Evil with my dad. We would play on PlayStation, and so it's just kind of prepped me for going into this genre, and it's a genre that I really admire and adore, and really happy to be a part of. But yeah, it's getting Blumhouse is crushing it right now.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the new Halloween, which is coming out. I know that's the first one that they did. I really enjoyed and loved. So yeah, I'm really excited about it.
And this is a question for both of you. We'll start with Dana. I mean, people that watch Tentacles, I mean, it's a slow burn. There's a lot kind of going on throughout the whole thing, but this is dialogue driven between you two that are kind of going through a lot. There's a lot of weird things happening, but there's a lot of kind of like heavy, at times scary kind of dialogue between you guys, where it's like, oh, what's going on? Like, why did you say that? Or why did you do that? Right? Talk a little bit about preparing for this, Dana. Casey, starting with Dana, about like, it's very, at times, just you two kind of talking, and it's not the traditional kind of jump scare, but it's scary what you guys are talking about a little bit.
Totally. Yeah. So I know that Clara, the director, really wanted to have a slow burn, and it was really like in her pitch from the beginning. And there was many different drafts of the script. Partially because of COVID, we were interrupted in production in March. And so they had to rewrite some parts as well. And so we had a lot of time with the script. As much as there is a lot of dialogue, I found that there was also a lot of physicality, just being this thing and learning how to be intimate so quickly with Sam or with Casey. And so a lot of my prep was exploring that physicality. And then, I mean, Casey and I like ran lines all the time, and we would kind of get updated scripts pretty quickly. So we were always on each other's texts to like run lines on the weekends and stuff like that. And yeah, at a certain point, you just can't overthink it, and you just got to go. And luckily enough, Clara created a really intimate space for us to feel super comfortable to just talk to each other and work off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So
And to add on that, I had previously worked with Clara on In the Dark. She had done an episode of my show last season, so there was already that built-in trust there. And to go off of what Dana was saying, I mean, yeah, we just trusted each other so much, and we gave each other safe space to explore and be ourselves and do what we needed to do. Like, there'd be times where I'd have to go off into a corner and just like kind of just go to my own little dark place. But I imagine Sam is just someone that's just walking around with an insanely dark cloud over him, throughout the entire film. And as Tara and Sam's relationship progresses, she kind of brings him out of that shell, and you start to notice that he's not drinking alcohol as much. And and that's one of the things I really loved about the script is it just shined light on so many relatable things with both characters. And like Dana was saying, like we shot the first week, and then the pandemic hit, and so we picked back up 5-6 months later almost. And it's like there were times where we would shoot during the day and be like, okay, what scene is this? Where am I coming from? Where's this character coming from? What just happened before the scene? So it was a lot of like communication that I think really helped all of us.
Yeah, because I pay attention. Like I'm really into horror movies, so when I'm watching them, I'm really kind of like paying attention to detail. And this movie, like Tentacles, there's a lot of like things that you both say to each other that really like make me think every 2 seconds, which kind of plays on mind games. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah, I think that's just a tribute to our writer Allie and our director Clara, because they're both incredibly smart women who love an Easter egg or love like a little thing to pick up on if you watch the movie twice. So that's just like, we were lucky to have such a great creative team.
It's interesting because it's almost like a hybrid too. Because you said movie, I mean, they're like because like Into the Dark, there's a lot of different ones, and it's holiday themed. This, of course, was Valentine's. They're like super big, like TV shows / movies. You know what I mean? And presented. I mean, when I first found out about this series, I didn't realize how long the episodes were. Like I didn't realize it's like they're movies essentially.
Yeah. I mean, it's if you kind of think back to like the Black Mirror episodes, it's very similar. It's a different casts. It's shot like a film, which is what drew me to this project. I thought that was so cool that they're doing something like this.
How do you guys prepare for roles like this in terms of knowing, you read the script, you talked about it a little bit with the director's vision, but this is a slow burn horror movie. This is a movie that kind of, has its moments where it gets a little bit more intense, but this is a slow burn, and there's a lot of build up, right? Compared to other things you've worked on, Casey, how do you prepare for something like this slow burn kind of script?
First, it started off with working with my acting coach and really diving in between the layers of the script and really identifying like what it is that this character Sam is really after and what his pain is, because I care way more about the character's pain and his darkness than anything. So I really just try to go with that direction first and see how I can relate to this character and what can I bring from my own personal life into this character. And that's kind of what I did. I started from the inside out, whereas I'm sure, it's different from another actor or actress. Like I know Dana was very physical, and that works for some actors, and some actors I have to kind of like go into that direction. So, but yeah, like I said, I've been preparing for horror my whole life, so this is something that it was really kind of dear to my heart, and I just identified so much with both characters, and preparing for something like this, it's tough. It's like you really just got to go to a place, and that's kind of that's the energy that I brought on set with me every day of just like I had to put myself in this place the whole day, and that's just kind of what my process was like.
Absolutely. And Dana, it's interesting too, because I mentioned, Freaky, and it's funny because people don't realize the behind the scenes. I mean, a lot of, you guys shoot these projects, and then depending on, when they come out, sometimes they come out like sooner than later, sometimes it take a while. But for you, I mean, it's been like Freaky comes out, and then not that long after this comes out. I mean, you didn't really get a break from like the horror kind of trade a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. I was actually almost a little nervous about that, but they were both such great projects that I was like, I was so excited to do both.
And both completely different too.
Completely different.
Different. I mean, Freaky to me is just a gory it's more comedy.
But both strong characters. Your character in Freaky and Tentacles, both very strong characters.
That's true. Very, very different. I mean, as Casey was saying, like my prep for this role for Into the Dark was quite physical mostly because she's this creature and I had to figure out a way to move.
Yeah.
So working in the script and trying to track Tara's growth over the course of the film and how she kind of gained strength, I would understand where that was in the plot and then kind of build physicality into that. So she kind of starts off a little bit more like paranoid, like always looking over her shoulder. And then as she and Sam get closer and as she kind of gets into him, she kind of gets more grounded and a lot more slinky and a little bit more like sexual.
Those scenes were sad, like the vibrations in the ears, like those like got me every time, Casey. Those just were like, oh my God. And like they wouldn't leave. Like they happened like simultaneously throughout, right? And it's just that whole vibe it just made it, but that's the point, right? It's supposed to make the viewer feel uncomfortable. So good job, Casey.
Thank you. Yeah. I actually had a horrible earache the entire film. I don't know. They just caught it on film, so I don't know what happened. But no, I'm kidding. Yeah. But to kind of branch off of Dano, I mean, that is another form of physicality and really like embodying that pain. And when something like that hits, it kind of just takes over your entire nervous system. And it's just like it was very fun to play because I've never done anything like that before, and it really got to physicalize that pain, and it was great to see that come across on camera. So.
Yeah, and very quickly, Casey, before we wrap up, you also ran a show called In the Dark. This is Into the Dark. Before we started, we're like, the fans like we're like wanted like there's two projects that are very similar in terms of what they sound like.
Yeah. A lot. I had, like I said before, I had a lot of fans coming up to me and being like, "Okay, so season 3 of In the Dark's coming out this week. That's awesome. It's going to be on Hulu now. I thought it was CW." I'm like, "No, guys, this is like entirely different project." So, but yeah, fans were quite confused, but they finally caught on, and I think they, really enjoyed the film.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Well, Dana, Casey, thank you so much for coming on the show, Popternative, to talk about Tentacles. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah,
nice to meet you too.
I mean,
Thank
so
you for
they can watch
everything.
it on Hulu, and they can watch, and it's the Valentine's. Again, I just love the theme, like what it is basically, where every episode is a different kind of holiday, or not even a holiday, because there's some like first day of school. Like it's a really cool concept. This is of course the Valentine's episode or movie, and I just want to know, where can people follow you guys on social media to keep up to date with everything?
I have an Instagram account. It's Dana Zoe Drori.
Perfect. And Casey, what about you?
I'm on Instagram at Casey Deidrick, and same thing on Twitter. I use both of those.
Amazing.
You can reach me on those.
Congrats of Tentacles, because you both were fantastic in this, and all the best on future projects as well, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Really appreciate it, buddy.
Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. For previous episodes, you can catch Into the Dark Tentacles now on Hulu. Until next time, this is Dana Drori, Casey Deidrick, and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.